Hey there, everybody. You are currently hanging out over our wheelbarrow. It's the one that I failed to green. It's the technical industry term for removing the logos and the branding and all of that. So you are over my green wheelbarrow right now, and we have another whole mess of char that we've made. And in other instances of biochar production, I've gone and left things about this size, maybe bigger, and let them just be their own entities where I dump them. But for this batch, we're going a little bit smaller. I'm aiming to do something that is kind of pebble sized, maybe a little bit smaller, so little bits like that. Try to get them in focus for you instead of something like that. So that is the size difference that we are going for. I'm not looking to make like total powder like appears here. I don't know. What I'm not looking to do is do that where it's just dust. That serves us some good. I mean, it's elemental carbon, but it's not what we are going for. So what we are going for is little bits like this, so that I can add them into a bucket and give them some of the duck pond water to soak up. Now, these are a little bit saturated, but that's okay. Means that they're out. So I've just got a stick that's got a relatively flat end. This is the mashy end, and this is the stirry end. So I apologize for the shaking if that comes through. I did turn on the anti-shake, but we'll see how good that really is. So you can see I'm just stirring around and kind of kicking up the stuff that did not burn or oxidize or pyrolyze all the way through. So you may be able to see that guy still a little bit of brown. So it goes back in the burn barrel right there. Boop. And so what we are doing with all of these bits is I'm going to soak them in some stank water, and we're going to let them soak up as much of the biology and anaerobes and gunk and nitrogen and nitrates and nitrites and ammoniums and ammonia and any other trace elements that it cares to pick up from all of that duck water. And this will be cut into some of the pots that I am growing some things in this season. And this is something that Stephen Edholm over at Skill Cult has been doing for a little while. He says he has some really nice results from growing things like succulents and other plants in pure biochar. And while I am not looking to do quite that experiment, I think it would be nice to send folks who are buying some plants from us, not necessarily all the plants because I haven't been doing this for everything, but some of the plants that we are sending home with folks will get some biochar loaded up with all these goodies so that they can have a permanent improvement in their soil, or a semi-permanent improvement in their soil. This one, yeah, you can see that little bit of brown tone as opposed to the gray tone. And so there it is. Get that. That's clearly not totally done, but it's breaking up pretty nice. We'll let it hang out. That's fine. And so that is just one of the projects that we are doing right now. And so I'm gonna get a little bit further on this, and I'll take you around and show you what else is going on. Oh, it's definitely shaking. Yep. Yeah, a little bit. We'll see how it comes out in the edit. So all I have is my little bucket for catching the smaller bits. I have a little bit of 1 inch by 1 inch over cloth over it. You can see that's what we're going to be doing for quite a few months. The noise probably isn't great, but just to give you an idea, we'll save the big chunks. If they make it through, we can make them a little smaller if need be. But otherwise, we'll just fill up the bucket. But you guys don't need to see that. You folks don't need to see that. So we'll take care of that off camera and we'll go show you something else. So I added the pure liquid disgusting from this bucket into this bucket. And if you can see the most disgusting slurry in the world, but in a few days that is going to be awesome water holding, nutrient holding capacity for the potting mix that we are using. As for everything else, it is greening up beautifully. You can almost make out from here the amelanchiers flowering beautifully. We have huckleberries and some raspberries and some mullein and some strawberries popping up. The raspberries are definitely running this year a little bit, and so I'm hoping to have something pretty nice from them. I did not have as many strawberries coming back up as I had hoped, but that's okay. We'll hopefully see some successes with those. The Nanking cherry up there did great. It survived those freezes. Likewise for this one, and so I'll be hoping to see a little bit of fruit set this year. And there are a few flowers in here that kind of look like they got a little blitzed by the cold, but we'll see how they do. It's supposed to be frost hardy. Things are coming back up. We have our first asparagus spike coming up, which is always a nice thing to see. I'm wondering what the dog has found. What'd you find? Who is it? Yeah, do you think stomping's gonna help? One of the things that has popped up pretty hard this year is the black cohosh. Pseudo. Hey, you're gonna knock something over. Will you back up? Hey, Pseudo. Back up. Oh, that's a good backup. That's a good backup. Well, hopefully he doesn't kill anything. Some of the amelanchiers are past flower and may set fruit. Hopefully their curculio does not impact it in the same way that it did last year. You can see this guy is just loaded with buds and small bugs, having just a field day with the flowers, which is awesome. It's wonderful to see the little pops of color coming in. And speaking of pops of color, my apple is getting ready. It's so close, you folks. It wants it so badly. I have 20 or 30 good clusters of flower buds getting ready to go, and the leaf out is not too far behind. I'm feeling hopeful for this apple this year. I'd love it. This is the one that came when I first got it from the nursery. It was girdled about 3/4 of the way around the trunk by a vole over winter, so we got it for an absolute steal, and then let it kind of do apple things of its own accord. But I'm pretty happy with the layout of the branches. I feel good about them, and yeah, it's kind of a wild shape for a tree, but when it leaves out, I'm happy with it. And I think that's the important thing. I've seen Franken trees, and you know, those people can be happy with their Franken trees. I can be happy with my wonky scaffolding trees. I think that's okay. We're over on the north side of the berm now. This is the one that separates our property going out that way from the neighbors going back this way. Wow, that's a blurry thumb. I was totally correct. We do have a little bit of anise hyssop coming up from here. It's doing okay, but just uphill from it, we have some comfreys and this absolute behemoth of a rhubarb plant. And the stalks are just ridiculous. This is by far some of the craziest. I mean, this is the flower stalk, it looks like. And it looks like we have a whole bunch of things getting ready to pop in here. I don't think I've ever seen my rhubarbs go to seed before, so maybe this one is just super happy with where it is. Got a few more popping up, and I'm very excited. You can kind of get a sense here. Let me zoom out. This is my hand on a corner of this one leaf, and I feel tiny compared to this thing. It's probably weighs as much as me. If I come down, all the stalks are starting to color up. I have no idea, personally, from experience at least, what the over-under on seed production or going and becoming food crop is. If you have experience with letting your rhubarb set seed, please let me know. Otherwise, we have some little bugs. I would say friend, but might not be a friend. We have a little bit of leaf edge damage, but this is low to the ground. It's probably got zapped by the cold, and we have some kind of critter who is cycling the nutrients back into the soil for us. So hooray. It's one of those things. I'm not an entomologist. I don't know bugs very well, or insects or arthropods if we want to be fully inclusive. I'm not really good with them. I mean, they can hang out. They're fine. There are only a few that I can really recognize on site with any kind of regularity or accuracy or success. So I don't generally kill them. If I see a beetle, I'm kind of like, oh look, you're a beetle. And then I toss them back in the soil. It looks like this rhubarb is also going to flower. How neat. More monkey brains for all of the things. But it's nice to see some of these things coming together. We have not had the same amount of happiness coming out of these, which are some of the Rose of Sharon that we got from our neighbor. And still got some flecks. It's still got a good bit of green to it, but I'm just not seeing too much activity on these. That's okay. We're seeing some up in the air prune boxes up front, which is pretty neat, but I figure we'll do a real contrast and compare in probably another month or so when the season is in full swing and we're not dipping into the low 30s or the low 40s, mid 30s overnight. So we'll take a look at that soon. We're up over by the oldest of the Nanking cherries. This is the one that I had done the most protection on for that hard frost that we had. And you know what? We're starting to set fruit. Look at it. Look at it right there. That's a little baby cherry that is going to try its absolute darndest to be delicious for me. So I'm very excited. I've had other cherries before, but I've never had a Nanking cherry to eat. And I can't wait. May have to thin this, but I haven't heard reports of having to really thin it. I might just have to fertilize it a little bit more. But just to the north of it, we creep down into its understory, you can see this little cluster of Canadian gingers. This was one crown that I planted last year, and now we have a number of them. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Actually get the camera past the blocks. But my gingers are flowering, and I'm in love. Absolutely bonkers. Native plants are so cool, folks. I love them. I think these are some of my native-ish wood irises. That's probably not the right name. They're some kind of iris, and they are an understory, purpley, brownish, supposedly, type of iris. We'll see. These ones did not do crazy well last year in the pots, and so I decided I would just plant them in a cluster, and that way I know where they are and I can come get them. We've got some native solidagos that are growing up behind it, and then just on the other side of this autumn olive from there is a little bit of Habilitia. This is Caucasian mountain spinach, Habilitia tamnoides, and it seems to be really liking its spot in the dappled shade by where some of the tree that fell on our house was. And so, seems like a nice little spot. I have not made the decision to cut back this autumn olive. It might provide a flush of growth, but it could also provide some trellising material for the Habilitia that's underneath it. So, food for thought. Food for me. Okay. Talking very quietly. Do you see the little chipmunk in there? No? There he goes. Saw an absolutely wonderful article the other day about how New England's stone walls, awesome as they are, do not have really a formalized type of study. There he is. He's trying to stay off camera. I don't blame him. Generally when he sees me, the dog sees him or her. We're being wary of each other, but all of these little cracks and crevices will stop focusing so hard on the chipmunk. Poor thing. All of these little cracks and crevices provide habitat space and safety, and when they're wide enough, opportunities for larger predator animals to use them as hunting grounds as well. And I think that's just so cool. I love my farmer's wall, but I am even fonder of it now than I was before. There is some kind of small flower in here. I am directly in the sun for it to be seen. I'm gonna trade off on the camera, but I think this is soap flower. I could be wrong, but I think it's soap flower. Something like that. Sold to me, given to me as a native. And then, not 100% what this is. Doesn't act like elder. Doesn't act like a tree of heaven. But it's got that leaf shape of a nitrogen fixer. So we'll leave it and see what it decides to be. I'll probably go scan it and take pictures and see about that. But if you have ideas too, share them. It'll be fun. We'll check back on that in a bit. The trial with the amelanchiers, the service berries in the pot, is going okay. They are leafing out. I have been pulling the black cherries that are sprouting in here because I don't need to be growing more black cherries. I have plenty to transplant if anyone wants. Look, there's one. But then we start getting into the rest of the potted plants. And my goodness, I've been going hard this year, and I apologize for not recording most of the potting, but it gets kind of repetitive and boring. And I do still have a few things left, so if you really, really want to see me pot some things, I will make that video for you all. But some of the raspberries are a little worse for wear, but they're trying. Not sure what's up with that guy, but they're trying. And the black lace elders right over here are pushing up their new growth. I'm pretty excited. There's very little root formation, but I have it on good authority from a friend of mine that these will leaf out first and then really start pushing roots. So my job at the moment is to just keep them at a comfortable level of hydration, not too wet, not too dry, but just dry enough that they start really searching for that water once they need it. And then if they droop a little bit too much for me, I can hit them with some water again. Have not decided if I'm going to bottom water or top water these, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I am almost out of pallets, and I have this one left to fill. I have this chunk of one left to kind of fill, and then this one got filled yesterday. I have a whole bunch of apple mints and some fresh lemon balm cuttings, and then all of these little guys. Some of them are looking a little discolored. I'm unsure if it's water or just the heat or something. It looks like they are stressed. There's a little bit of chlorosis going on, but this is the Pycnanthemum incanum, the hoary mountain mint. I haven't memorized all of these yet. Hang on. Let's go around to the other side. Yep, the hoary mountain mint, and then we have the slender mountain mint, which I believe is the tenuifolium. Yep, Pycnanthemum tenuifolium. These ones got a little bit roughed up by the dog and the cat when they were in their initial growing out tray, but some of the clusters doing okay. I had to transplant them, not because they were ready, but because the dog and the cat kept wanting to knock over the tray that I had them in where they could get sun. So they are transplanted out. The chickens that are in the greenhouse, spending their days in there so they can stay warm, decided that they were going to go hard on a cluster of these, so they're not in the greenhouse either. They're just going to be left to their own devices. But going forward, I'm hoping to have just a whole bunch of mountain mints too. We'll talk more about mountain mint and the Pycnanthemum family in upcoming videos. I feel like this is getting way too long, and so we're just gonna wrap it up there. The black flies are eating me alive. I still have not gotten the haircut. Hats. But yeah, so till next time. Thanks for watching. Happy planting.